Come on.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine Podcast. We're hosted on Spotify and streamed worldwide on all the platforms that you use to listen to your favorites. I'm Nick. Andrew and Tristan are on the other side. Back behind the mics one more time. What's going on, fellas?
I really thought Tristan was going to do the thing.
I was waiting for my turn.
I thought it was I'm sorry. Okay.
Usually you open, but
well, I thought you okay. I'm pretend none of that happened. Okay, we're starting over.
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, nothing, man. Everything's good. Everything's going really great. What about you, Tristan?
Hey, we have upgraded to a higher tier of our podcast recording software / website Zencastr, and it comes with a free soundboard. And the best part is that that's the only good sound. So if you want to hear this, you're in luck because that's all I've got.
Believe it or not, this is not a baseball podcast, though, despite the sounds you may hear.
Is that a baseball only thing? Like, could you do that at a racetrack and people would understand?
People would understand that it's out of place.
And also, there's no charging in baseball. Like,
you can charge the mound in baseball.
That's true.
I mean, I guess I think I've heard it at hockey.
Yeah, I've definitely heard it at hockey. I heard it at basketball games too.
But it's not that same. Yeah. It's not that same organ-y sound. Like, it's the same notes, but at NBA games they play it with like a different instrument or a different, just a different
organ
sample.
Is particularly old-timey ballpark.
Yeah, for sure.
One more time for folks who didn't get it the first couple.
Oh, we're gonna look like such fools if that doesn't come through on the recording.
Yeah, hopefully that comes through.
You're gonna have to record this whole thing.
But when do we not look like assholes on the show?
I mean, it wouldn't be a new piece of technology for us if we didn't misuse it the first time.
Yeah,
that's valid. But what is new technology for, if not for specifically that
misuse?
Yeah, looking like an asshole in front of other people.
Misuse and assholery.
Yeah.
Episode title.
There it is. And you can search the new transcription to find it if you forget, Tristan.
Yes.
So right. They are feeding us into the machine. We will all be killed by AI soon.
Thank you, Google.
Certainly our words will be.
You
know that the AI transcriptions are terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know that I want necessarily to be able to be to have my unique style of speech imitated by a machine. That's kind of scary.
Hey,
however, I love the gamer presidents videos. Those are so funny to me.
Hey, if it's fewer meetings I have to actually speak in, I'm fine with that.
Oh, that's a good. There's advantages too. Is this an AI podcast?
It's not an AI podcast or a baseball podcast, despite this sound.
The list is growing.
Yeah.
No sound,
true.
Tristan?
Oh,
you said we're not a baseball podcast, so
despite this sound.
Oh,
I teed it up for you.
That sound?
Yeah,
man, these are so low quality. Shout out to Zencastr. These are really low quality. We lived through the sound era. Remember when PowerPoints first came out, or slideshows, and they used to have the sounds built into the old Mac program? What was that?
Tires.
Yeah. Yes. Screeching tires. There was like the funeral dirge was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, anyways, we're old.
We're super old. We're also not a podcast talking about age. Andrew, what is our topic for tonight? This one was an idea you've been working on for quite a bit.
This is a hot and stolen idea, as one of my most favorites. So I was listening to a sports podcast that's connected to the Jimmy Kimmel, Adam Carolla verse, right? And they were talking about this theory of the X, right? Throughout your life, you go up and you go down, and theoretically you reach, kind of like a peak, and then you just kind of descend into death. But on a long enough timeline, and if you are accomplished enough, and if you are good enough, and sort of reach a high enough peak, in theory, they use it to describe potential relationship with women, right? If someone's up high enough and someone's low enough, there should be an intersection, right? On any timeline, you should intersect.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking, well, hey, we could do that with cars, and not necessarily just cars we thought about buying, but cars have a very similar life cycle too, right? There's for example, a Corvette, Nick, obviously huge excitement at the launch. And then the next gen comes out and maybe goes down a little bit. And then, by 2 or 3 generations later, that thing is like bottomed out. No one loves them. I'm thinking C4 vibes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
Yes.
then someone like Mr. Regular makes a video, and 3 years after that, now it's suddenly like, oh, C4, that's kind of cool. And all right. So somewhere along that timeline, you will have intersected with probably a whole bunch of cars. But here we're going to focus on some specific ones. They might be cars you almost bought. They might be cars you've seen, thought about, but at some point you cross, those lines crossed. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
This is going to be a really interesting subject.
I think so.
This is going to be, because some of this has to do with, like, obviously personal opinions and desires. As you said, Andrew, we've probably intersected in our life paths with plenty of cars we could have bought.
Oh, for sure.
But is it ones that like stood out to us, like, ooh, like did a second look, maybe one online, like, that we actually put a little time and effort into researching and deciding, am I going to do it or am I not? Like that's all just on your perception and like what you find as like your favorites. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think when we were first teeing this up a couple of weeks ago, you actually mentioned a card. I'm not going to steal your thunder, but the brand you threw out there as one of your potential examples really surprised me. So
yeah, no, I think it could be. I'm hoping we hear some new things, right? We've as old men, we've obviously told the same stories a million times, so that'll probably happen again. But hopefully, some new things too.
Yeah, for sure. Before we go into that, it was a great tease, Andrew, but there is one topic we need to hit on, and that is the debate that Andrew and I had on the last episode.
Yes, I believe we have some results.
We have results from the poll we put up about the Lamborghini Revuelto versus the McLaren Senna.
Yeah, in that they look identical. Yes.
Well, you had said that. I had said not a chance. And then you had said, let's ask the listeners. I'm sure they will agree with me. So that's what we did. We asked
the righteous opinion. Yeah.
So we did ask the listeners. I put up a 3/4 angle, like looking at the left front corner of both. And then I put a side shot, like completely perpendicular, closest angles I could find. And I just said, listeners, settle a debate. Do these cars look alike? Yes or no? Not a single respondent said they do.
They do.
Every single person who responded agreed with me. Not a
single
person.
No, it's fine. You don't see it yet. You guys aren't ready for it yet. One day it's going to hit you.
The old "I'm ahead of my time" argument.
That's right. I am what they call a trendsetter. One day it's going to hit you, people, like a ton of bricks right in the face. You're going to be like, "Oh my god, they look identical." I'm going to be there.
Right about 92 years old when you can't remember that they're actually different cars anymore. Then,
it's fine.
Then they'll
look
fine.
Cataracts, and you just see in blurred colors anyway. There's no sharp definition.
They're both red. They look the same to me.
I'm happy to be right both now and later.
But you're not
like
right.
The candy.
Whatever. Sounds like jealousy. Trendsetters, when you're on the bleeding edge.
It's also there's also the possibility of being on the wrong side of history. So
since it's written by the victors, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
Well,
you
in
won't.
this
You
case,
won't
it's
know.
not going to be you.
He just said he doesn't know.
So I am right. Our listeners are right. They're always right. You can't argue with our listeners.
It's too
Yes, he
late.
can. He does
It's
all the
too late.
time.
I mean, yeah, he can and he will. But in my opinion, debate's settled. Tristan, what say you?
As an impartial adjudicator, because I did not partake in the original argument, yes, I would say based on our very, very scientific poll,
Yes, they look
those two
identical.
cars are in fact very different from each other.
Whatever. You'll see. You'll all see.
Sounds like a threat.
Yeah, wait a minute. What's going on here?
No, one day you'll just see it. You'll be like, oh, I understand it now.
We'll actually see it.
Yeah, you'll bear witness to it.
I was waiting for race car driver like excuses where, well, you posted the wrong picture, they weren't the same color, or
No,
how
This
can you,
is
Yeah,
how
the
confident I am
not my
in-
fault.
This is how confident I am in my comparison being correct. You will see it eventually, one day.
So I will say that the 3/4 angle, the cars were different colors, but the side angle,
That could have been it. Yeah, you know what? You did fix it. You fixed it. That's
but
what happened.
The side angle, they were both orange.
Yeah.
I couldn't find an orange McLaren Senna shot at that same 3/4 angle, so I used a blue one.
Oh, throwing the results.
Hey, I don't make the rules.
What? You absolutely do. Whatever. It's fine. No, it's fine.
I don't make the rules. I just think them up and write them down.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, Tristan, we need a transition noise.
Yeah, I don't have one of those. All I have is that. We found out that we have this soundboard like when we opened our recording session, so we don't have any files to make new stuff. But we can. Yeah. There will be more. So I hope you guys really enjoy it, because there'll be more of these.
It is baseball season now. Is this our first episode we've recorded since baseball season started?
Yes.
So baseball season started, you say? Well, that's interesting.
So it's in season. That sound effect. But anyway, who wants to kick us off with their what are we just going to call this, an X car? Is that
X car? But first, there is something I have to. There is another earth-shattering piece of news that we have to talk about. Man, for those classic Check Engine Podcast fans who've stuck around for a number of years, you may remember my absolute hatred for all things Mustang, and the fact that they keep doing these stupid limited editions and bullet editions and all this stuff. And I have destroyed the Mustang many, many, many times throughout history, recent history even. However, they've done something, or that allegedly are going to do something that I actually think is interesting for the first time since when they brought the Mustang back, they did the Boss 302 and the Laguna Seca edition Mustangs. Those were good. No other good Mustangs in the intermediate. But now they're going to bring out in 2026 a Ford Mustang Raptor. And that is really fucking stupid. And I like it.
The image you dropped in our chat, it looks like AI generated chat.
Oh, this is the car and driver render.
Oh, okay.
So they just put some Raptor cues on it. But kind of half the time, low key, I think that specifically Ford and Chevy leak this kind of news to get the car and driver render and then go, yeah, we'll just use that. That's pretty close.
Oh, that's actually a really good thought and pull. Like,
right?
It's a good strategy.
See how people feel about it.
Yeah.
Let's open the rumor mill, get the rendering, and see the reactions online, and then see what our people think. Like, is this something that
could we do this? Yeah. So for people who can't see the picture, Ford Mustang, bit of a lift on it, off-road tires, light bar, fake push bar in the front. That's kind of it. This one happens to be brown, sort of.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's links to other things in here that are deeply amusing, like the Toyota Sienna Woodland Edition.
Yeah, and I do remember that. Not a not a particular reason for that to exist,
Nope.
especially for nearly 50 grand.
Yikes. Also, that
Bronco
uses the
Raptor,
phrase
Ranger
immediately
Raptor.
after the phrase Toyota's Sienna Woodland Edition is followed nearly immediately by the phrase "Make kids regurgitate chicken
chicken
nuggets."
nuggets.
Who's
Is
writing
that
this, car and driver?
someone
David
without
Beard?
children? David Beard. So this news, I guess, was leaked yesterday. No, obviously, no real info in here. The thought is they're eventually going to jam it with the 700 plus supercharged 5.2 liter. No manual transmission. Fox live valve dampers will pad the landings. I mean, okay. It's hard to tell what's actual here and whatever, but I think this actually is cool, and it has a bit of the commitment to the, what was that, the when they got rid of the Beetle VW, they did a allegedly like a Dune edition, right, and gave it like a 1/4 inch lift and painted it brown,
Yeah,
and they're like, hey, that's a special edition, and it wasn't really.
Right.
This is like that but more.
Exactly.
like that, but more.
Yeah. Anyways,
which one do you think has a better chance of happening? The 2026 Mustang Raptor or the 2025 Corvette SUV?
oh
Because
man,
that was also announced / leaked.
that's really tough. I feel like the Corvette as a brand thing would be so unlike making the Corvette a mid-engine car, which is a significant improvement on the formula. Making Corvette a brand would actually diminish the value.
Yeah, and I think it's the same problem that we've had with a lot of the stuff that's been happening to lately. Like the Bronco is not the Bronco; it's Bronco as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the same with Mustang. It's like there's the Mustang GT and the Mustang Mach E. Like the brand is Mustang. Ford is doing that a lot, and we're starting to see it with other, like I think it's VW that bought, was it like Scout,
I think
and
so.
they're gonna make that into its own brand when it was, my understanding, just originally one vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's turning these vehicle nameplates into brands seems like a misuse of nameplates to me.
I also still don't know who it's for. Is it intended to instantly magic up brand capital instead of having to build it? Like, is that the thought?
Yeah, I think it's trying
Mm-hmm.
to, like, people who, like take the Raptor brand, for example, that they're trying to build. Like it's a trim level, but really just you're associating with the Raptor name. And like, well, I don't want, because I live in the city, I don't want, a V8 full size truck. Give me a Ranger Raptor. I can still feel like I got a Raptor. I have that nameplate on the back of my car, that badge. But and the broader you make that, the more people you're going to get to buy it because they want the name. So I think you're exactly right. You're trying to magic brand capital out of thin air, or it's already there. It's more like condensing brand capital out of the air, where,
Sure.
like, it's already there. It just doesn't necessarily have a place to land, because the
Right.
only brand that has that on it right now, or the only vehicle that has that brand on it right now, is not something everyone's going to buy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, so yeah, to answer
It's
your
the
question,
it's the Elon Musk strategy. Like, let's just drum up excitement to drum up more capital and raise the stock price, and then not really do anything with it.
sure. But to answer your question, I think the Mustang is way more likely. And weirdly, this Car and Driver article is striking a strange tone between the possible and the probable. So they seem half convinced it's going to happen already. I mean, why the hell not, right? This is actually interesting. I'm actually interested in this. I'm not interested in a Bullet Mustang. If you buy one of those, you're an idiot and I hate you. Um, that's still the same energy, but this is cool.
Yeah, on my side, I think that it's practically an irresistible morsel for GM to not to pass up if they do not make a Corvette SUV, because everybody else is doing it. You've got, Lambo SUVs, Ferrari's making one. Like, if you want to have the Corvette supposedly going toe to toe with the big guys like that, they're gonna want an SUV too. And I think that that's my take on that. I don't necessarily know which one's more likely. Maybe they're equally likely, but I feel like there's a rationale beyond, like, hey, we just want to slap the Raptor badge on everything and this one might actually be cool. I feel like that, like, some boring man in a suit would have actually said, like, well, Lamborghini's got an SUV that did really well, and Ferrari's coming out with one. We got to have one. Like, it's the more boring answer, but I think that makes it pretty likely, weirdly enough. Whereas with the Raptor, it's the crazy bonkers people who want to slap Raptor on everything, which in its own right makes it likely. So I don't know. I don't know which one is more likely, but I think they're both shockingly likely,
Maybe, but
frighteningly likely.
with the Corvette, couldn't you, in theory, instead of creating, a Corvette SUV, couldn't you take, what, the Blazer, the Tahoe, something like that, and just do a Z71 edition, a Z06, ZR1, you know what I mean? ZR1 Tahoe. Like, you don't have to use the Corvette name. You can just use the, like the SS badge back in the day, right? You can just
Right.
do that, and people who know will know.
Exactly. I think that would be a much smarter path forward. Let's see here. They do have a Z71 Tahoe that is still made.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what the
but
hell then?
Yeah, but again, in line with that, like, Lamborghini didn't really make the Urus. It's just a Touareg, Cayenne, Bentley Bentayga. It's all the same platform. So
Sure.
you could take the. I mean, I think it's likely that they would take the, Blazer platform and use that for their sporty SUV. Maybe something like
Right.
that, and specifically slap the Corvette name on it so that it attracts that particular crowd. Like, even going upscale with GMC, think about your CFO. Like, if
Mhm.
he's going to buy an SUV, is it going to be a GMC? No, it's probably going to be a G wagon. It's going to be a Range Rover. It's going to be, you know, an Urus if he's particularly flush. And I think that
Sure.
putting something that fits in that crowd would be the goal.
Yeah, but one of the
So
things
You're
with
totally right.
the Corvette is always, at least this since the new C8 has come out, is um like that supercar performance on a quote unquote budget. So would you want
I don't think that narrative has
something
to
out
change.
there so that you're saying it's the same story, right? Like you
I'm
can
gonna stop. I'm gonna stop you in my Corvette SUV, and you bought an Urus
right.
for three times as much. Like, I don't think that narrative has to change necessarily. You can
I would agree.
I hope it
put,
doesn't actually. So
yeah.
yeah, that's good.
So
God, you're right. I had forgotten that they use the Z71. They really have diluted that to the point where it's literally invisible. Never mind what I said. God,
Don't they have that other
really?
one now? That AT4 is the badge I'm
yes,
seeing all over the place now.
Yeah. Yeah. On all the trucks.
And RST, I think, is another one. Like there's so many packages and trim levels now.
RST, sure, right there. Also, Z71, if that's your Corvette tier, let's not have it be the bottom side of the middle of the six. Just as a concept.
And what's the Colorado one now? A ZR2.
Yeah, that's got its own special thing though, right? That's supposed to be off-road and
Yeah, that's like
yeah,
the
that's the
poor man's Raptor.
yep.
man, Chevy just does everything wrong. I've everything they do, I would do differently. That's just ridiculous. Anyways,
Too many trim levels. You're so at some point there are too many choices. Like,
Just ridiculous. All right. Anyways, let's let's
After a
get the show on
long
the road here.
sidebar, let's return to X
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
Tristan, you gonna hit us with a transition noise before we get back into it?
Yeah, I'll hit you with the noise.
All right.
The noise. I love that. I love that as an episode title. I love that phrase.
Hit you with the noise. So who wants to go first?
I will go first. I will go first as
Set the
it's my
tone.
idea. And I think I may have told this story before. I probably have, but so the first one I'll start with is this would have been, I want to say like 2008 or 2009, if I can set the stage here. Was kind of in the market for a car. And there was a little car that I liked from back in the Fast and the Furious days. Of course, the Hyundai Tiburon. Now,
Okay.
the Hyundai Tiburon was an interesting car because it was objectively trash. It was a very, very bad car. However, it looked sporty, and that's what mattered. So,
At the time.
yeah.
Yes.
So by the time they killed this off, which was, I think they made them through 2008, so it was probably 2009 when they actually killed it off. Hyundai could not give these cars away. So, a Tiburon, let's see, I'm trying to think of, so it came in 2 or 3 engines. There was a 4-cylinder, and then there was like a GT package one, right? It had a 2.7 liter V6, 6-speed manual, not fast, again, like 170 horsepower, a absolutely shocking almost 9 seconds to 60.
Woo.
Just not a very good car, but loaded as they do with all the features at the time: traction control, the sunroof, moonroof, leather, all that, everything, all the things, including cassette at the time. So these fully loaded Tiburons in 2009 were sitting on the lot for $7,000. Brand new, literally, because they could not give them away. They couldn't give them to people. They were so hated. And I think this was just before. Now, actually, you know what? It was just after they introduced the first Genesis, a true sports car, 2-door rear wheel drive that launched eventually the Genesis brand. So these things were just sitting in the back of lots for almost nothing. And I almost bought one because they were so cheap, and because they were, my first car was a 2-door manual that was objectively garbage. So I kind of like that a little bit. But this is the first car ever that I was like, wow, I could get that. I could have that and it would be mine. And thank God I didn't, because several years later I was in one. And you know how there's this trope in generally high fantasy, things that are larger on the inside than they appear to be on the outside. This
Yes.
car is exactly the opposite. It is
The opposite of
approximately
that.
1/4 the size on the inside as it appears on the outside. I'm not extraordinarily tall. I'm not noticeably large, but I couldn't fit in it. Like, it just there was like not room for a person in the vehicle. Absolutely bizarre.
So you could buy it and look at it.
Regard it, yes, and it
Regard it safely from the outside, where you're not going to get trapped in it.
wasn't particularly good looking either.
Hyundai
Listen,
Tiburon.
this was before I really kind of like cars. So anyways, that is definitely my first one at this time now. So the X here, the Tiburon at the bottom, like just flatline, no value whatsoever. Me, a stupid college kid, also no value or money whatsoever. So that it was, those two lines were just flatly with each other. Perfect symmetry.
And grand scheme of things, at the beginning of the graph. They
Well, yeah,
intersected
no, so yeah,
very,
making that the beginning.
very
Tiburon
closely to where
very
the
much.
axes met.
Yeah, no, Tiburon very much at the end. That was just about to fall off the graph completely. I like to think of myself as kind of at the beginning, low, but at the beginning, and then that Tiburon line stops, and then hopefully mine goes up from there.
All right. Hyundai Tiburon. That's not too much of a surprise. He's always been, as long as I've known you anyway, you've been a Hyundai Kia guy. So that's not. Tristan, you want to go?
Yeah, I've got my, not as long as you've known me, but for a while, kind of story. The This car was only sold, and I'm not forgetting to say it. I'll get to the punchline. Um, the It was sold from 2005 to 2007 and had shocking sales numbers of 10,000 units,
Okay.
which was far better than expected. It is the CRD Jeep Liberty.
Oh my! Ooh, what a
Yeah.
callback!
Really?
Yeah. So I actually test drove one of these twice. I test drove one when they were new at or relatively new. This was like, they only sold them for 2 years. This was like a trade in after a year in like 2006. Um, you know, I went to go try it out in, I think it was like Whitewater or something, um, because they had one, and had this wildly inflated price, and because there were only 10,000 of them, and they were selling better than they thought, so it was hard to find one in stock. Um, this car was not available for sale in all 50 states because of its emissions.
Yeah, that's right.
This
It
was
didn't meet
a
emissions in California, right?
California, Maine, like Delaware or something, like some weird states. Um, and because it is absolutely the epitome of a rattletrap European diesel from the early 2000s before they significantly improved or came down in cost. You could get a very, very nice diesel from people like Mercedes, for example. You are not getting that in a Jeep. That is an Italian diesel. Blah, 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 blah. Terrible.
It does truly make an awful noise. You rattle trap. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It makes
Yeah,
that diesel noise that you hear out of golf carts.
yes, there is endearing diesel noise, and then there's this, which sounds like it's broken. Now I was entranced by the thing that so many people are entranced by with diesels. The economy was amazing, the torque was awesome, but we didn't follow through on it then, and that was when I got very, very close. It makes a return significantly later in my life. There are, I'm trying to, lost to the mists of time, as to exactly when this happened. There are thoughts that it happened about the same time I was looking at and purchased my Forerunner. Maybe potentially before that, when it was the question between a question of how do I replace my A4 wagon, for example. But later in life, college or after, I took another crack at this one, when they had been, you know, kind of fallen out of favor. They were doing the thing that all Jeep Liberties of that generation did, slowly turn into, well, not slowly, unfortunately, rather quickly turn into a large pile of rust. And however, the diesel, however impossible to kill, was not getting any quieter. And it was not equipped with the best four-wheel drive system. And obviously, I didn't make that choice then either. But like you said, kind of like the Tiburon, like at that point, they were just sitting around. I found one without any rust. It was still running. I almost bought it. At that point, like you said, with the graph, my RX almost formed there, as it was within my price range for a reason, and had a lot of weird appeal. The guy who grew up with, my dad, the self-avowed European diesel head, who was also weirdly excited about this particular vehicle. And it almost happened, almost, but we just couldn't quite get over the horror show that were the other Jeeps of that generation that were already rusting out like 10 years later. So it was a close call. We almost hooked up at one point, but it didn't work out. So that was my that was the first one that came to mind. Like, the whole premise is like, had circumstances been slightly different, you would have owned this car because your
Yeah.
lines could have crossed. That's my first one that jumped straight to mind.
There you go.
I'm just ready for 10 Corvettes from you, Nick.
Well, there's gonna be one. So I guess we can just start there. I think you mentioned it kind of in the tease way back in the beginning of the show, Andrew. The C4s have dipped significantly.
Mhm.
They are actually starting to go back up on the rise, but especially like 2 or 3 years ago, if I wanted to, dip the toe in to like being Corvette collector guy,
A Toyota of your own, or a Toyota, a true Corvette of your own to match your dad. You could go to events together. You could go to the
right. So the C4 would be that entry point,
Sure.
and you see them all over the place for super reasonable prices right now. No one really wants them. So it would be like, hey, I'm in the club. I can get into the corral on my own with my own vehicle at Road America. All that kind of thing. It wouldn't be a long-term play, but I think a C4, even if the mileage is high, like if you find a C5 like from down south that someone like could drive year round and like drove it,
Sure.
like you could get it for a relatively reasonable price. The downside with that one is, and the reason I would prefer that one, but the reason I don't do it is right now, that would mean I would probably need to get rid of the Focus and the Blazer.
Oof.
So like,
That's rough.
is it affordable? Yeah, I could move some things around and make it work, but that would mean I would be SOL in the winter.
True.
Driving to and from work.
Man,
So
imagine
Be
this thing in the
brave, Nick.
winter.
Be
Oh,
brave.
I'll say the C4 is my first one, just because that one it's more realistic right now than the C5. I could probably go pick up a C4 and all I'd have to worry about is where am I going to store it, because my garage doesn't have enough room.
Oh, that's the C4 was the one where they had the white, purple, and orange special edition, the Indy 500 edition.
Yes, the one that I like. Because
Super
I've liked
recognizable.
C4s for a long time. I've always been the Isle of Misfit Toys.
Yes.
C4 and the square headlight Jeep.
I feel like everyone likes a square. I have unresolved issues with the square headlight Jeep hate. I feel like that's fake. But anyways.
So they're going up in price now, but I'm just like looking. Here's a 91 Chevrolet Corvette in Kenosha, which is a C4. It's got 85,000 miles on it for $11,000.
But you think the C4 line is like up enough where it's matching your current level?
I think this is one of those where it's continuing to descend. Well, hopefully I think I'm continuing to ascend.
Okay, so you think you're still above. You think you're still going to meet. I got
potential future state.
I feel like maybe
but it's close. Like I could do it today.
I think it's gone under you, kind of in the past, right? And now I feel like it's got to catch up to you, bro. Don't sell yourself short.
We're almost at the intersection point if we haven't already hit it.
That's fair.
That's how I'll put it.
All right. Let's see here. I'll do this one next. This one's a weird one. Let's see, this would have been after I graduated. So after I graduated from Nebraska, I moved back home. and decided, I didn't really want to go to school for another 8 years. So I was working for the county at the time, and I was driving up to see Meg. And I didn't take the freeway. There was, freeway option on the back road option that took you by some lakes and was really scenic. And it also took me past this. I don't even know where it was. I don't think it was in a town. I think it was just before an unincorporated sign. It was nominally a Shell gas station. I don't think it was. I think it used to be a Shell gas station. It was literally like one pump, a closed convenience store. It was very small, and then one garage with a white BMW sitting in front of it. BMW 3 Series, specifically an E30 convertible. I was like, okay, that's weird. And it was for sale, and it had like a dealership printed window sticker. It's like, what the hell's going on here? So I drove past it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And fifth time I was like, all right, what's going on here? So there didn't seem to be anyone there as I drive up there. It would have been a Friday after work, right? And hop out and walk around the back, and it's in reasonable condition. It's a 323i, which is interesting because it actually is a straight six. It's not the super desirable straight six, right? It's not anything too special, but it is like a real BMW engine, and it seemed to be in reasonable condition. Had a bunch of miles on it, as you would expect. But according to the sticker, everything was okay, or at least in the condition you would expect it in for a car that old. But no price. Like the whole thing was there, and no price. I was like, all right, well, okay. Next week, or whenever I come up next, I'll leave really early, and I'll come up here and try to get whoever it is that's here when they're at this weird podunk outpost. So I did that. 2 weeks later, let's say it was, and I drive up, and of course the car's gone. It's just gone. And I'm like, oh, well, shit, like all this time wasted. But that, I think at the time I probably would have considered buying it because I had no better reason to not, right? It would have been a interesting car to have. The E30 is super desirable. But not specifically this one because it had straight six, and the BMW people are really, really weird perverts. But this would have been interesting. Plus convertible, it would have been kind of fun, I think. And I wonder what happened to it. I wonder what happened to that little 323.
This is the one I was talking about that really surprised me when you brought it up. As much as you, and to an extent, Tristan and I do also just rip on BMW on this show incessantly. The fact that you're like, oh man, I wonder what the BMW would have been like. But at the same time, that's when that car was made when BMW was still trying to make cars, not actively trying to get out of the car game. So
Right, yeah, they weren't selling loot boxes yet.
Loot
No DLC for this car. It's I don't know. It would have been interesting. It's weird to see it there, just sort of in the middle of nowhere. If I had gotten this car, would I be a track day bro? Maybe. It's a possibility. Could that be my life now? Probably not. But maybe it would have been fun for a while.
that's the pre-marriage and child window of time.
Exactly that. And yeah, so I don't know. It would have been interesting. I think it would have been a fascinating thing to investigate more. And I wonder what the price of that car would have been. Simply because it, was a desirable car, but it's one of those things, right? Do people know that they have a car that's really popular amongst people who like cars? And this, I wonder. And so I think the X here is me coming up a little bit. I graduated, still didn't have much money. And I think that would have been on the downswing for sure or maybe coming back up, right? Kind of cratered and then coming back up. But the BMW line would have been much, much straighter in the vertical direction simply because how car people are. We hate this. No, we love it. No, actually it's cringe. No, it's the best thing in the world. So those are basically like vertical changes, I think, for BMW specifically.
So yours wasn't an X; it was like an actual cross.
Yeah, more like a cross. Yeah, exactly that. Yep.
Yeah. That's a good one. That was the surprising one.
Well, I'm gonna go with my equivalent of Nick's Corvette. Um, and sadly, I think I missed the boat.
Uh-oh.
Um, the the early 2000s Audi TT.
Mm.
Yeah.
Was
there you
that the
go.
what, like
We're
second gen technically?
Either one. They've got they're 1.8T, and like some of them are 225, some of them are 200. Like the horsepower difference, and it's just because of a remap, so it's not really that different. Still the first generation, still the rounded jelly bean looking one, as Nick likes to tell me. But the there was a time, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where you could still get a quote unquote beater version of one of these, where someone had driven the snot out of it. It's going to need new tires and a little maintenance, but it's got like 50,000 miles on it, and you could afford it. Right now, you can still afford it, but for example, there is no difference in price between a 2001 Roadster, a 2005 Roadster, and a, what is it, 2008 Coupe.
God, why?
And that
Yikes.
and the 2008 Coupe is after the remodel, the remodel, the
Yeah,
after
the
the facelift, after the model change.
yeah.
Like, so, you know, it's crazy because all that's left now, I think, this is the symptom I think it is that all that's left now are the really well taken care of ones. Like, I just happened to be looking through this search the other day, um, and I found like a 2001 uh, 1.8T Roadster in gray with the baseball stitch seats. Basically, my dream car.
Yeah.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
and hang on, it's did I miss the boat, or did I just not hit the best time? Are our lines going up together? I don't know.
Mhm.
Because right now you can get that for 11 grand with 80,000 miles on it.
Oof, it's a pile of
Same,
miles.
almost the exact same as a C4 Corvette.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Which is 10 years
And it's,
older.
yeah.
10 years
Well,
younger.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Corvette's 10
younger.
years
The
older,
Corvette's
yes.
Yeah,
older.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's Corvette
yep.
tenure, yeah.
So it's one of those where I can't tell if it's gonna keep going up, and it's just gonna stay just out of, like, if I found this for 7 grand, I would go abase myself and tell Jessica I'm gonna go buy this. Like, because it's basically my dream car. We've
Right.
talked about it. We've talked about it on a lot of our episodes, but it's just that much out of reach where that's not really an option. Um, and you know, so is that line? Are they going to keep going up together? Where, like you said, hopefully you go up as well. Where even though this might keep gathering collector value, I gather a better salary every year, and
Sure.
eventually I can afford one of these when they are in, like Nick, when they are 10 years older, and it's C4 territory.
Mhm.
Does that make it affordable? Um, that kind of thing. So it's an interesting situation where they were cheaper than this. You could get them for like $5,000 or $6,000 with, like, yeah, 80, 90,000 miles on them, and you know clearly, like, the rims had been replaced and the hood had been painted, and like, these were driven by people who had graduated to this from their GTI and treated it badly. And you could get it and kind of nurse it back to life, but now the only ones that are left are the really nice ones that
Right.
somebody over the last 22 years has only driven, that's like 4,000 miles a year. Like, so that's all that's left right now. And that's kind of that's why we're in a weird spot. So I hope I didn't miss the boat, but I fear I did. I think our X's crossed 5 years ago and I missed it.
I I I would say be cautious because I don't know if it is going to get to C4 territory in 10 years simply because it's, if I remember right, they're not making it anymore. Like a
Yeah, I don't
Corvette,
actually know.
a Corvette is still actively being produced, obviously, and it's never going to stop. Whereas the TT might only go up in value due to scarcity because there's not new ones coming off the assembly line, if I remember correctly. I could be
No,
very wrong.
they've got a 2023,
Then
Well, they sure do.
just forget the last 15, 20 seconds of what I just
which
said.
is
Don't even.
which is very nice, by the way. I really like the 2023. But
It
talk
does
about
look
not
pretty
having
cool.
not having $11,000. I certainly don't have $52,000.
Oh,
Damn.
ugh. Ah.
Ugh.
It's a lot of money.
The gently retreating screams were very
Yeah,
amusing on this
I
end.
was hoping that sounded as good in real life as it did in my head.
That sounds
need
better
that.
than our soundboard right
So
now.
I need that on the soundboard. Andrew just going, nah, nah, nah.
Okay, so my second one, this was from. This is definitely one I feel like I missed the boat on. It's from say 3-4 years ago. So I still had, you guys remember the chocolate brown or cocoa colored Colorado? That was my
Yes.
daily, like right after I
Mhm.
moved back home from Michigan. So I was driving from my place to my parents' place, and I believe both you guys are familiar with this. Like as you come in on Highway 16, which turns into essentially Main Street downtown Oconomowoc, on the east side of town going in, there's that used car dealership with like the green roof at like O'Connor
Yeah,
or whatever.
it used to be used to be Auto Connections
Or something like that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
like O'Connor Auto Connection or whatever. That place usually, every now and again they'll pop out a real nice car front and center. So I'm always, still today, like every time I drive past it, I'm like, what does O'Connor's have on the lot? Like, is there something I missed that I might want to poke around and look at? And I was driving through there in my Colorado, and I looked over, and there was a black GTI that was, I don't know if it's the exact same year, Tristan, but it was the same generation, we'll say, same design language as your
Same
dad's.
mark.
Yeah, as your dad's white one. Which, driving around in that one, that we've told the flooding story on the show probably a few times, R.I.P. in peace, is basically what kind of knocked me out of the big V8s is the best mindset, and like kind of turned me on to like fun hatchbacks. And I drove past, and I'm like, oh, that's it. That's the car. I was asking Tristan's dad to let me drive that car so many times. Like, oh, I should stop in and look. I should, do a little more due diligence on it and go talk to the people there. And I don't remember what the price was at the time, but I second guess myself, and I'm like, well, that's not going to tow the cart trailer, which one of the former guests on the podcast from our karting roundtable has proved me wrong. He towed with his GTI up until last year. So
I say he would beg to differ.
He would beg to differ. He's done it. He can do it. I'm like, I need the truck to tow the cart trailer and all this other stuff. Now I just kind of let it go. And I ended up finally just biting the bullet. Not biting the bullet, but like really diving into, I need that fun car before marriage and kids and stuff. And I got the Focus a couple years ago, which is awesome. I love it. But even now, just looking at prices of the GTIs, they were always a little bit more than the Focus anyway. But like, if I even just wanted to trade in, like it unless it's like super used, six figures in mileage, like I'm not going to be able, like I probably wouldn't be able to swing it. Volkswagen's, like the GTI has held its value pretty good. I think it's been kind of accelerated with the recent supply chain stuff and the used car values
God,
going
yeah.
up anyway. But I'm not going to get the same value out of the Focus as I am for that GTI. Now, that's not to say I don't love my Focus. I do. I love driving it. I'm so happy that I've gotten out of storage and I'm driving. Even though it snowed a couple days ago, mid-April, I was still
Did it
happy to
really?
drive it.
Yes, it did.
Wow.
We had a 45-degree temperature drop and then snow.
Nice. We had that,
Gross.
but I think we got a small amount of rain.
We got
Oh,
grapple.
yeah. The snow melted. It was up to 60 again today already. So, but yeah, that was the car I felt like if I would have just jumped and done the hatchback thing then, I could have had the GTI, which, like I said, pretty much set me on the course to where I'm at anyway. I could have had that car. And now I'm probably not going to be able to swing that car unless something changes and the prices drop again. So,
Yeah,
that's the one that got away for me.
bummer. So I have 2 left here, but I don't know how many you guys brought, but I'll start with one that was really recent and still bothers me because I think that if COVID hadn't happened, I'm almost positive this is the car I would be driving right now. And it
Okay.
kind of sucks that I'm not. Because of what I think this car is. I've talked about in this podcast a lot of times before, but I believe in my heart of hearts that the Camry TRD is a future classic.
Mm-hmm.
And when it first came out, I thought it was dumb, obviously, as you would, until I saw one on my way to work one day and I was like, oh shit, wait, that's actually something. That is cool. That is good. That is different. And what comes back around? The normal car that's different. And then COVID happened. And these fucking things were on lots with a $15,000 markup.
Yeah.
Start at 33. There's one option package, 35. They were $50,000 for no reason. for literally no reason. And it's like, nope, not doing that. And it just bums me out because I really like this car. Every time I see one, it's kind of like, damn it, that should be me.
Right.
And I mean, that's it. It's just, I really think in this case, this was the Camry bumping up through my current level of car interest and making itself something for me specifically. But yeah, just the COVID markups. It's never going to be. By the way, they still haven't come down to MSRP. Most places still have these on the lots with a markup. That's how crazy it is with these. And I think for Toyotas in general, I think some of them are still carrying markups. It's like,
yeah, I mean, because their
No.
lean manufacturing got bit hard.
Yep.
that's
and
right.
So they got behind, and they're still trying to catch up.
Lowest
that's
lowest price I've found on a used one in Waukegan, Illinois, 45,500 miles. It's a 2020
Yeah,
for $30,000.
3,000 off the list price, brand new. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, it sucks. It just sucks. Well, of course, the thing is, I like this car because of what it is and how it looks and what it represents from Toyota and what it represents from the Camry. But if you're smart, you would just go buy the Sonata N line. It's faster and more powerful and has more shit in it. Like, it's an all around better car than this, but I actually don't care because I like this more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the styling more.
Oh man, does it look great.
Yeah,
It
looks
looks
awesome.
so cool.
Yeah,
Would
they
you
really
say that
Toyota
they
really outdid themselves with this one.
What?
knocked it out of the park?
I would. Thank you for that.
How long has it been? Like 20 minutes since we heard that or more?
Probably.
Yeah, it's been a
We
while.
needed
Figure you
more.
got to work one in.
The noise. Yeah, no, I really do love this, and it just kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah, that sucks. Tristan, you got another one?
Yeah, I got my own little heartbreaker. It's one of those where actually the line did cross. Um, and then the brevity with which that line crossed, the touch and go nature was made it all the worse. And it's my forerunner. Um,
Oh.
that
This
that
counts though.
car that car came down at exactly the right time.
This
As I was coming up, I had started making money at Apple. I was you know I had received a financial gift. I had the wherewithal to purchase this car, and I did, and I loved it. And it was with me for like practically no time before it got just a little bit doinked by a semi, and that was enough to total it. Which was
Did
just
you have it 2 months
heartbreaking.
even?
I think it was like about 2 months.
Yeah, it was like
Like we bought it in the
yeah.
heart of winter, and it was still winter when it got totaled.
It was basically
Um,
no time at all.
yeah, and
I
it
think I had
was
only seen it once in person.
yeah, yeah, because I think you were still in Michigan at the time, right?
Uh-huh. So
Yeah,
like when I came home
Yeah.
from Michigan for the holidays for like the Christmas New Year run, like you had stopped over at my parents' house with it. And that was
yeah,
like the one time I saw it in person.
yep, and those have gone up in like every Forerunner is now twice as expensive as it was when I bought
I was gonna say
that Forerunner.
that must suck most of all. You could have sold that for a profit.
Yeah, it's like I could have flipped it and bought something else.
God damn it.
Aside from the fact that I love this stupid thing, like weird mildew smell and all. But but yeah, and that was just exactly the right time for me to buy that car, and then it got yanked away. And you know, with the interesting thing would be, where would I be now? That's what I like to think about this one. Had I done that, or had I been able to keep it, because the reputation of Forerunners is that had either like right at or just under 100,000 miles. That means it had another 100,000 plus miles in it, probably, if it was
Easy, easy,
maintained.
easy.
And
Yeah.
so that would have derailed the entire Jeep Subaru adventure. Would I have traded that in and bought a new Forerunner? Would I have bought a truck? Would I have been like, well, I have to be more reasonable now, I'm going to buy a RAV4? Like,
Sure. Sure.
where would I have gone had that, what butterfly effect would have come into play had I not had that taken away so soon, so soon? And that's what when you were talking about the X cars, it was like, yeah, there's something to talking about that, you know, that, was it ships in the night, passing without knowing. But
Mhm.
almost worse is that you were able to get on the ship for a couple hours and then they kicked you off. Um, you know,
Yeah.
and that was I don't like to think about the sad stuff all that often, but when we were talking about these, when the lines crossed, it was just like, man, I nailed it, and it blew up in my face.
But
So
of no fault of through
no,
no fault of your
no,
own.
no fault of my own. Because I mean, literally, that was exactly the only moment. Because when I went to replace that car with insurance money, couldn't find one.
Yep.
There were none. So
Brutal.
yeah, like it was exactly the right time for me to own a Forerunner, and I did for that long.
That's so sad.
Yeah, that sucks, man. Ah. So, I don't know if this one necessarily counts, but I'm going to tell the story anyway because
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if mine counted either, because technically the lines did touch.
That counts though. No, that one absolutely counts.
so this is one based on what the seller was telling me, I thought I was in the range for until he actually told me how much he wanted for the car. Because I did stop and look at it. And Tristan, you were with me when this happened. So do you remember when I pulled up to your house that one summer and was like, get in, we're going to see
Get
this
in.
GTO?
Yes,
Ooh,
I do.
Auga.
So right around the corner from Tristan's place, there's this guy who's got like a kind of detached garage kind of back in his property. He's got a couple lifts, and like his retirement gig is restoring and flipping classic cars. So I was driving to Tristan's for whatever reason, don't need a reason, hanging out. And I come through, and if you guys remember, like from one of our early episodes, I think it was the wedding episode, I said like a 67 GTO with those stacked headlights, like that is one of those bucket list gotta have it cars.
Yep.
And this is when, I don't know if I had moved back from Michigan or I had still in Michigan, but anyway, like got the real job out of college. The sales gig in Michigan was kind of cool because I didn't have a lot of food or vehicle expenses because I had a company truck and I was traveling all the time. So I was like food and hotel, like everything was on the company credit card. So I was saving a lot of money. And I've been driving to Tristan's house, and at the end of this guy's driveway is a bright red, like fire engine red 67 GTO with the for sale sign in the window. And I just went, oh shit, yes, here we go. So I pulled up to Tristan's house. He was outside. I just rolled down the window. I said, get in. So,
Okay.
so drove back, and we started talking to the guy, and he was walking us through the car. And, he was telling us that, like, hey, this is not the original quarter panel. I had to find it from a different vehicle and put it on and shape it. And the floor in the front seat is new because like accident damage and all this stuff. It wasn't connected to the firewall properly, so I had to get a new one. And like he walked us through all this crazy stuff that you couldn't tell because he did a really nice job with it, but the car was basically Frankenstein together, which is what I was looking for because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get a Barrett Jackson 67 GTO.
Well, yeah, clearly.
And I didn't know what my price range was at the time, but I'm just like, well, what's going to pique your interest? Like, what kind of offer are you going to look at or going to think, at least consider? Thinking he might say, 18, 20, I don't know. And he's like, 42,000. I'm like, what? You just told me that the thing is like 4 cars that you Frankensteined into one. What do you mean?
4 cars in a trench coat.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean $42,000? There's no way. There's no way. So that was kind of bummed. But as, Barrett Jackson and Bring a Trailer and all that stuff would go on to do, all of these are ruined. Like,
sure, yeah.
As I'm looking just kind of in the background here to prep for this story, I'm going onto all these different auction websites and used car websites and just typing in 1967 GTO. And the lowest price I was able to find in my last 10 minutes of half searching was $55,995.
Should have bought it.
I just should have bought it for 42 5 years ago. So that's my last one. So I don't know, Andrew, if that counts, if that meets your criteria.
Sure, of course.
I had this idea that I'd be able to make it work. Especially considering all the work the guy did to it. But
yeah,
turns out
sometimes the lines don't cross. Sometimes you're looking up, you think maybe, and then it's like,
and shatteringly no.
Nope.
Shatteringly no.
Turns out it wasn't the case.
Yeah. So like I said, I do have one more, but it don't no one feel like they have to also continue if they don't have any more. This one is one I just found out about very recently and is in fact one for the future. Because it's something that's actively happening right now. I think Tristan will remember this from back in the day, but I think I've talked about my hate for Harley Davidson on this podcast.
Oh, look at this!
I think I've talked about this. So they've made
just for our own internal ogling. I sent the TT that I found, in case you're wondering why Nick is making that noise.
That is nice.
No, I'm making the noise from the link Andrew just sent.
I did put that in the chat as well. So there, one time in 2009, Harley Davidson did something. They tried.
Did anything.
For just one bike, just one model. They made an attempt, and they called this bike the Sportster XR 1200. And the reason I say it's the bike that they tried with is because they gave it a reasonable amount of features that someone who was born after 1970 would look for in a motorcycle. It has a reasonable sport bike tail. It has cool looking pipes. It has a more aggressive rake, but not so aggressive that you feel like you're riding a pogo stick like you are in a Buell, and on and on. So these Sportster 1200s were introduced at some Harley-esque price, probably was it like 15, 17,000, something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And as is the case with Harleys, have stuck at that price almost exactly until this year, ? When you can find XR 1200s for under $10,000. This one that I sent is essentially untouched. It has the factory pipes, and I cannot, if you don't know about motorcycles, I cannot express to you how fucking rare that is on a Harley. It has factory pipes.
The unlikelihood of that
is shocking. This thing is basically from the showroom. It has 5,000 miles on it. That's nothing. And it's beautiful. It has sex appeal unlike any other Harley ever made. It's cool. It's modern. It's everything that Harleys never ever are. And oh man, have I always wanted these. And for the first time ever, they're dipping into a reasonable price. If you find there's on Cycle Trader, there's another one with like 30,000 for just over $5,000. Like this is the line. You know what I mean? This has now crossed through that. It has happened. But I don't think I could buy a motorcycle. Like that's
Andrew, you should treat yourself.
That's irresponsible.
You just moved, like you just went through a move, you got a new job. You're in a good spot in life right here. Like for this kind of price, like the one you sent in the link is 7,900, or make an offer. Like they're not even firm on that price, and it's got 5,000 miles.
I know it's basically brand new, and it's beautiful.
Dude, I think this is one I would seriously consider jumping at. Maybe not this exact one you sent.
Yeah,
but
no, they also made a factory fairing for this Tristan, a factory windscreen. Remember that? So you could make it in. Oh man, this bike is just so cool, unlike anything they've ever made.
I would jump, Andrew. I would try to find it and do it. Life's too short, man. Like this is it. You're there.
This would make it remarkably shorter. No, hey, here's one in Wind Lake, Wisconsin.
There you go.
For what's the price?
$10,000 for this one. $10,000.
A little bit more.
Wisconsin Harley tax.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, no, that he lists it. He lists the place it's been maintained. That's the difference. But no, so this is a current one, an ongoing one, a recent one. I'm just now realizing that a bike I actually liked from 2009. So I guess that's back in the day, but not too bad. It's happening right now.
This very moment.
Yeah. That's kind of fun, right?
You should do something about it.
I don't think so.
Come on, man.
But this is, I mean, even still, 5,000 less so, especially now. But the 10,000 mark is like fun car territory, right? That's where you're edging into to buy a vehicle. But no, right, but 7,000 price.
I was gonna say the 7,000 or the 5,000.
Yeah, that's
different story. Maybe
there's something going on with this. So this is one I'm monitoring.
I mean, that's like my entire karting setup. Like
I mean,
trailer, engine, frame, like all that,
true.
like is in the $7,000 to $8,000 range.
So I mean, the crazy thing is, right? If you were to get the one that's essentially stock, the rare one, the unicorn one, sit on it because it's Harley, you would imagine you would actually see increase as long as you don't lay it down.
It's not one of the doomed ones. It's not like the AMC or the AMF ones or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Andrew, are you talking about a vehicle as an investment?
No. Because it's a motorcycle, you're guaranteed to lay it down. On a long enough timeline, everybody crashes.
It's not a Ferrari Daytona. So
yeah, it's not the one Ferrari Daytona that oil sheiks pass between each other and increase the price by $100 million every time they do it. This is the fair value of this car. Shut up.
Oil sheiks or the WeatherTech guy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He's in it too.
Cars are not investments, and neither are NFTs. That's your lesson for today, folks.
I agree on that last one.
Wheel of morality, turn and turn. Tell us the lesson that we must learn.
The Wheel of Morality segment. Oh man, we can have segments with these sound effects. All right. No, okay. Let's not give too much away.
Andrew's been turned loose.
Here we go. His mind is going.
I have ideas.
Well, on that lesson, that seems like it might be a good spot to wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
Tristan, do you have a wrap-up noise?
Yeah, let me see. Maybe, I think this will work?
A little something like that. Yeah, that could work.
Actually, probably not. That's like a get started noise.
Oh,
but
yeah,
anyway.
Sorry. Can I play it? Does this have a play it backwards? No.
Play in reverse.
Anyway, let's work on getting the people out of here. Before we let you go, folks, we got to remind you how to get a hold of us. If you want to continue proving Andrew wrong on our poll, you can find that poll at Facebook. If you go to Check Engine Podcast. Andrew, if Twitter is still a thing, can they find us there?
Yeah, Check Engine Pod. Yeah, the DM.
Tristan, what about Instagram?
Also at Check Engine Pod.
And you guys did this one the last couple of episodes. I'm going to try it this time. Mastodon, at Check Engine Podcast, at mastodon.social. Yes?
That is correct.
Nailed it. So you can find us there as well. You can be sure to like, follow, share, post, DM, reach out how and when you can. You can ask us questions to answer on here. What's up?
Chance to get on the ground floor with the Mastodon account. We have one follower, so if you want to be number 2, now's the time.
I mean, OGs on Mastodon.
I don't even follow our own account with my account. Maybe that's a mistake.
Twitter's going down the toilet. Get out while you can.
If you want to be number 3, do it now.
That's right.
There you go. Like, follow, share, post, DM. You can reach out how and when you can. You can ask us questions to answer on air. You can give us topic ideas. Let us know what you like or dislike about maybe this X car idea. Do you have your own X car that, maybe like a ship passing in the night you could have had, but it maybe just slipped through your fingers? Let us know. You can also leave a review for us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, preferably a good one, and or hit that subscribe button. It's free. You'll get notified of any new content we put out. If you're really into what we're doing here and would like to support us monetarily, you have 2 options for that. You can go to patreon.com/checkenginepodcast or hit the support button on our Spotify for Podcasters homepage.
Yes, you nailed it.
Every cent pledged is put toward making this a better experience for you, the listener. So if you want to hear a noise other than this, maybe pledge a little bit so we can buy the rights to some more sound effects. Again, thank you in advance for that. Who or what are we thanking before we turn the microphones off this week?
I'm gonna do something I don't think I've ever done before, and mention a specific non-car related YouTube channel that made just a really, really great video that was very inspiring to me, because it's like the horrible algorithm of YouTube and all social media just grinds interesting creators into dust and makes them disappear and you never see them. But a YouTube channel called The Cursed Judge, a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, released a video called Games You Can Never Play Again.
Yes.
And it's just really, really, really incredibly high quality content. It's just such a good video. It's just awesome. And it was really, really inspiring. So thanks to the Cursed Judge.
I'll have to go check it out. Listeners, you should too when you're done listening to us. Tristan, what about you?
I'd like to thank a coworker of mine, and possibly a listener. I know he knows about the podcast. But one Mr. Joe Jacobs. We had a very interesting conversation just a few days ago, that really put a lot of things into perspective. No need to go into too many other details, but it's kind of the you know like you were talking about, actually. Weirdly, Nick, you kind of summed it up earlier. Life is short. You have to remember that. I just asked my wife. I have a problem remembering that. I'm either convinced I won't die, or that it doesn't matter if I do. It sounds weirdly dark and fatalistic, but it's just that I'm not full of existential dread. Um, and I would say he gave me a good sense of existential concern versus dread. And I hope good things come from it, and I suspect they will. It's a weird thing to thank somebody for, but it was a very motivating conversation, and I hope that some of that will spill over into the podcast work as well.
Nice.
Very,
I like that. Ooh, I like that
that's
energy.
super deep, super mysterious. That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good thank you. Right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've thanked this person recently or not. So if I have, whoops, but also she probably deserves
Whoops.
another one. I would like to thank our realtor, Bonnie, who is not just a realtor, but good friend of our family, also a listener of the show, a regular listener, car person, born in Indianapolis on Memorial Day weekend. I mean, come on.
Lovely.
Well, yeah, it doesn't get.
I mean, if that doesn't set the course for the rest of your life. So, and also one of the voters on the poll to settle the debate who agreed with me. But that's not why I'm thanking her. I'm thanking her for helping Claire and I navigate not only the purchase of our new home, but also the selling of the condo. So, gentlemen, this background you see behind me here on our video, this is probably going to be the last time you see this background.
Oh, shit.
So we put this place on the market last week, Monday.
I'm sure it's gone. Boom. Overnight, right?
We accepted an offer on Wednesday. It was one of 3 that came in, all at ask or over.
That's
well
dope.
over.
That's so dope.
Yeah. So if we stick with this 2-week cadence and all goes according to plan and everything gets set up at the new home, I will be recording this next one from our new house. So last podcast, we started the podcast in this condo.
Let's say end of an
Absolutely.
era.
End of an era.
Ooh.
So thank you to Bonnie for helping us through the process and making it so simple and easy and frankly successful for us. She did a phenomenal job. So thanks to her. And as always, thanks to all the listeners out there for your continued support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you, and we cannot wait to speak to you again. Until then, take care.